Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Good news, I got an attachment for my tripod, so now I can make videos without having to hold my iPad the entire time. You may have just gotten a glimpse of my cat. I'm not sure if she would have been in frame, but now that I'm filming things, they've decided that they want to be on my art table all the time. Anyway, so the first time I attempted this video, it was squashed by yowling cats who were fighting with each other. The second time, it ended up being 18 minutes long, which seemed completely unnecessary. And also, I had forgotten a couple of pages, and it was further away. I didn't realize that there would actually be stuff being videotaped outside of the frame of my iPad, so I wanted to get closer to the pages. I'm going to continue my flip through of this sequin journal that I made and that is getting entirely too fat and may need to be rebound before too long. And I'm going to start with this page that I actually missed. Here are my two adorable sometimes kitties, asterisk and ampersand. I call them the ladies pretty frequently. This is partly inspired by a friend from a previous workplace that hated being called ladies in emails, but also partly from the show Girls. There's an episode where they're talking about something and Shoshana is insisting on calling everybody the ladies and all of the other characters. So like, I'm not one of the ladies. So anyway, you might get it, you might not. This is an example of my scrapbooking light that I enjoy doing, just having some pictures to document what's going on. And right next to it is a really good example of art journaling. I loved this picture. I'm pretty sure it was an advertisement in a Teen Vogue. Teen Vogue is an amazing place to get collage elements. And then I went crazy with the rest of it. I just searched through all of my ephemera and picked a bunch of things and stuck them down, put some modeling paste on top, some ink sprays. I just went crazy, stamping everything. Really enjoyed it. My favorite part is this sticker that I made to look like glasses on her face. She didn't come that way. All right, the next one, I'm hiding a little journaling from you, but I want to show you the page. This past summer, I participated in the Daisy Yellow Index Card a Day Challenge. It was really fun and actually helped jumpstart my desire to do daily creative work. This turned out better on index card than it did in my journal. I think it just worked in a smaller format. But one of the prompts made me think of bumblebees, and I had this vellum that I love, and as soon as I saw the prompt, I knew that I wanted to use that vellum and make some bumblebee wings. So now I've done it twice. Also use some glitter glue because who doesn't love glitter glue? I'm actually running out, might need to get some more. And I also had some fun cutting out, fussy cutting some flowers from various papers and some butterflies. I have maybe about 1 million sheets of pattern paper, so I've just been trying to think of ways to use them, and collage has been a way that I've really enjoyed. Now this, generally when I have a page with only one medium on it, it means that I have just purchased that medium and the order has arrived, or I've just gotten home from the store. In this case, I had ordered some shimmery watercolors, and I used some masking fluid to draw a mandala, and then I covered it in a rainbow of the shimmery watercolors. As you can see, I labeled it mandala here at the bottom. The only part I'm not thrilled with in this is that the yellow, like, you really can't see the mandala well through it just because it's so light, but I enjoy the piece overall. And I think it's a fun experiment to try to shade from one color to another. So I also just love rainbows. So I make rainbows a lot. All right, moving on to the next one. Another Teen Vogue inspired collage. I know that, so this advertisement campaign must be in lots of magazines other than Teen Vogue, but that is where I have gotten it. Love my Tim Holtz tiny word stickers, just pick a few every once in a while. I get catalogs from when I was a nanny from places that I will never shop and have never ordered from for myself. But they have cool pictures because they can afford expensive photographers. So if they want to send me free resources to do collage, I'll accept them. Also, some place I ordered from had included vintage book pages in in the order, like wrapping the item that I bought. I don't even remember what place it was that I ordered from or what I ordered, but it came with vintage book pages. How cool is that? Also, you should regularly go to your hardware store and steal paint chips. It's not really stealing, they're there for the taking, but it's fun to just make your own rainbows, and they really come in handy when you want to do something monochromatic or just need some linear elements. Really like that. Anyway, back to this advertising campaign. They're in a lot of different magazines, and I love every single one of them. They're just flowers with sayings, and sometimes they even have like a subtitle saying that I'll enjoy. Needless to say, my stash is full of these flower pictures. I even have another journal entry, not in this book, but in another one that is complete and has another one of these pictures. All right. Here, if you remember the punk from my last video, it was the last thing I showed in the other video. It was a Take 5 challenge, and so is this. So you can see that, like, picking 5 art supplies and working with them, you're going to come up with wildly different results, and it's a good place to start. It's a good place to get inspired and just think, okay, I want to do something creative. I have no ideas. What can I do? I can pick 5 things from this jar, from this envelope, from this list, and start. And eventually you're going to come up with something. You might like it, you might not, but you'll probably get joy from just sitting down and creating. One of the prompts for this was music paper. I think maybe the other one was circles. Another one was circles. Can't remember any of the rest of them. Doesn't matter. What I came up with, I like. And it was probably one of the first art journal pages that I actually posted on Instagram. Punk definitely was on there, but this was probably a close second. Have some doilies. I don't use doilies a lot. I only have these blue ones. They're fine. I know a lot of people like them. Just not my favorite. But they were a good circle element to add, and I thought they went well with this stamp that's like a mandala. I didn't use waterproof ink. Didn't think about that when I decided to start putting paint over these stamps. But I actually kind of like how they blended in. It's pretty cool. So, this one, it might be hard to read. It says, "Ain't nobody want to come into an empty welcome." I was at a conference this summer, or I'll call it a camp meeting, and there was a spoken word artist who did a piece, and this was one line that really stuck out to me. Just the idea that it's easy to be fake friendly. It's easy to kind of pretend and be nice. But what people really want is for people to actually welcome them and love them. And so this stuck with me, and I knew I had to do an art journal page with this quote. I work at a university, and so there are a lot of flyers and posters around, and I take the ones that have expired if I like stuff that's on them. And this was actually a postcard that ended up in all of our mailboxes inviting us to something. I don't even know what the something was, but this entire spread was inspired by that. I've got some fireflies and other little insects stamped, honeycomb. Hexagons are basically my favorite shape in the whole world ever. I don't know why, but I have like 5 stencils that are hexagons, a bunch of stamps that are hexagons, all the hexagons all the time. My favorite vellum paper has honeycomb on it. I don't know. It's just a shape that's beautiful and easy to work with, and apparently very popular in the design community as well. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to show you that one last because it's my favorite. You just got a little sneak peek, but we're going to move on to a different one. I talked about scrapbooking light in my last video. This is another example of that. I know some people would probably just call this scrapbooking, but since it's in my journal, it feels a little less serious because there's nothing protecting it. Might get burnt up in a fire. I don't know. But I had just gotten my Olfa circle cutter, which I think is mostly meant for quilting, but I decided that I wanted to use it for paper, and I'll use anything I want to cut out circles on paper, as I did here. I have a bunch of pictures from a road trip I took in 2015, and this is some journaling about that trip. The reason I didn't cover this journaling is because completely innocuous. If you want to read it, feel free to pause and read it if you can make out the messy handwriting. I just tried to make this page coordinate in color with this page. And I use this collection that's like tropical or something, but I mean, you hardly notice because there's so little of the leaf. It just looks natural. And I also had gotten some Distress Oxide inks and had some fun using them through a stencil in the background here. And I love the texture it came up with. It almost looks like snakeskin to me. I love it. Okay. Moving on. Okay. Yay. I love this one. I love this one. One day I got home from work and I just wanted to do some collage. And so I got into my collection of magazine clippings and whatnot. And the first picture I found was this one, the glasses with the 3 eyes instead of 2. And then I just kept picking stuff, and by the end I realized that everything I had picked had an orange, red, or yellow kind of element to it. So I just decided to go with that and started putting down paint that also was orange, red, and yellow. But then I decided there needed to be some highlights, so I got in here with some black and gold and white dots. And I love what happened when I put this stencil onto another page. I wish I had thought to get that out, but I don't want to interrupt the flow right now. Maybe I'll show you that in another video, and I'll make sure to point it out. But with these 3 colors combined, and then I sprayed water on the stencil and flipped it over onto another page, and it was gorgeous. And I've been trying to recreate it and doing okay, but I don't know if it'll ever be the same. So I love this monochromatic feel so much that I guess it's not monochromatic, just a similar color feel, warmness, that I decided to do the opposite. And I got blue going on here. Blue and silver instead of gold. I mean, there's a little gold here, but the elements that I put on top are silver, just so it's a little more cold, a little blue, but then this pop of red with this picture of from the Americans. Just blue is my favorite color. If rainbow were a color, that would be my favorite, but since it's not, it's blue. I love this stencil too. I put some modeling paste through this stencil that's supposed to be like circuitry, and I just like that in contrast to the circle shapes that I had put down and the natural feel of this. I had a stamp of Big Ben and parts of London that It's like, hey, I'll use that too. Must have gotten it just then. Did some doodling in different places. Really need to work on my doodling. I like doing it, but I get scared off of it sometimes. All right, on to the next one. Not quite last. This was going to be last until I realized I hadn't shown you the one that's actually going to be last. Again, this is some Distress Oxide inks and this stencil that I love so much that I have it both in 6x6 and 12x12. This is the 12x12 version. I just laid it on the paper, sprayed a little bit of ink through it, and then once that was dry, I used Distress Oxide inks to go over it. Love myself a rainbow, so I did a rainbow. And then just because it ended up looking so ethereal, oh, the stencil's name is Party Lights, and it's by The Crafter's Workshop. And if you love it, you should get it. It's great. I've used it like 20 times already, and I've only had it for a month or two. And then because it looked so ethereal and dreamy, I added this word sticker. Not sure I like the positioning of it, but hey, whatever. You know, it's there. It's in my journal. No one cares. All right. Now, on to the last page I'm going to show you. It is probably my favorite thing that I've done in this journal, not going to lie. I love getting pictures out of the Atlantic because they just have some really great illustrations, but also amazing photography, and just the ideas that must be behind the artwork are really cool. I used that stencil again, the one with circuitry, but I used some gold Heidi swap texture paste mixed with regular modeling paste because it takes some of the stick out. The Heidi swap paste is really sticky if you don't mix it with something else that's not sticky. Yeah, just for some reason, I think it was because of Our Mixed Media Moods with Dee Dee Catrone and Jen, I can't remember your last name. They had a mood board, and it included like a pink lemonade popsicle, and I became obsessed with pink and yellow together. And one day, probably just getting home from work, decided I want to do a little collage, and just started with pink and yellow. And I'm pretty sure I used some homemade spray inks. I used some Inktense blocks. I used some paint, like normal acrylic paint, to get these intense colors. I just love it. And then I have some pops of black and white that really just come off the page at me, but also in the background, some stamping that just adds some layers of dimension. And here I use some thread. I have this yellow shiny thread that I've had probably for at least 20 years, since I was a teenager, and I've used it for a lot of things, but I love the shininess of it here and just how it adds something, some texture, something that maybe you want to touch, because I love art that feels like you want to touch it, which is why I love texture paste and constantly want to touch things that I've made with texture paste. All right, I've probably talked too fast. Hopefully this video is not too long. And I hope that you want to come back and watch another one, because I'm hoping that my next one, hopefully in less than 2 weeks, will be a process video. I'm probably just going to recreate something I've done before, so that I can take a little bit of the nerves out of it, especially since I haven't learned how to edit the videos yet. So keeping them short means doing something I know. So probably going to do a little drawing or maybe a mandala, something like that. In the meantime, I would love to hear what your favorite medium in mixed media is. If you don't do mixed media, just let me know what art form you like best. Do you like painting? Do you like drawing? Do you like whatever. I was going to say, do you like collage? But that really gets into mixed media. So my first question would apply. My favorite media are texture paste, for sure, and paper. I know that can be a substrate and a media, but in collage, I consider it a media. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you can take some ideas from the things I've done in my journal, and I hope to see you back here again in maybe a week or so for a new process video. Have a great day.